We have some really great guest speakers joining us today, some very experienced business analysts, and we'll get to that in just a minute. Just a couple housekeeping items. One is this webinar will be recorded and you will be sent a follow-up email once this is posted to YouTube with access to that recording. We have 111 people registered on this session today. Right now we only have about 25 participants, so hopefully we'll get a few more throughout the session, but maybe some people are waiting for that recording. At the end of the session, we're going to keep this to an hour, but at the end of the session we will have a question period, so we'll try to cover anything that we didn't throughout the presentation. And if you have any technical difficulties, please direct your questions to Tony Yu. Tony is here in the room with me, but he is also online at tony.yu@sauder.ubc.ca, and I have put that email into the chat box for you. All right. Moving along. So just a little bit about who we are. So recently, we were transitioned to the UBC Sauder School of Business. Previously, we were UBC Continuing Studies, and we've gone through this transition just at the end of June. What this allows us to do, and the school, is to better meet the needs of professionals like you who are looking to really advance their careers in these professional designations in areas of project management, business analysis, agile, and digital marketing. With a broader variety of career-focused non-degree programs, the UBC Sauder School of Business will now have one of the most comprehensive offerings of non-credit business and professional education courses and programs in North America. So now getting to our agenda today. We're going to cover a few things. What is business analysis? Then we have, and we're really excited to have Ron Dalton here, who is the president of the IIBA, the International Institute of Business Analysis, and he's going to talk a little bit about the association, some of the industry trends, and job market outlook as well. We also have a graduate success story, which is Azeema, and we're going to also hear from Azeema, who's going to talk a little bit about the certificate program, and then I'll come back on to talk about some of the aspects of the program as well. So our webinar speakers, as I mentioned, we have Ron Dalton, and he is the Vancouver chapter president of the IIBA. Ron recently joined us, I guess within a year. He's been the chapter president. We have Azeema Jamal. She is senior compliance consultant with Vancity, and she is a UBC Certificate in Business Analysis grad. We also have Holly Zhang. She is a senior business analyst at WorkSafeBC, and she has been an online tutor for the UBC Certificate in Business Analysis for over 4 years. And then I have myself here as well. First, I'm going to introduce Ron. So Ron has over 24 years of continuous experience in business. Ron's background includes working as a software developer, project manager, systems analyst, accountant, business analyst, and trainer. Ron has owned and operated his own consulting company called Net Profit since 2005. Ron is the president of the International Institute of Business Analysis, Vancouver chapter, and has been an active member of the IIBA for over 12 years. Ron, I'm going to pass it over to you. Welcome.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Raquel. I'm happy to talk to you today as representative of the Vancouver chapter of the IIBA. As Raquel mentioned, that's the International Institute of Business Analysis. So I would focus kind of on the words that it, in the title, that it focuses on the practice of business analysis. It doesn't necessarily talk to just one specific job or a role, but more or less around the whole practice of business analysis, which I think ties in very well with the courses that UBC Sauder offers. I'm going to jump in right away here with the first two statements that are from the BABOK. So this is the business analysis body of knowledge that the IIBA puts together. So it really provides us with a definition of what business analysis is. The practice of enabling change in an enterprise by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. It may be performed within the boundaries of a project or throughout enterprise evolution and continuous improvement. So really kind of the things we want to focus on here is the underlying words. These definitions themselves come out of version 3 of the BABOK, and over time the definition has become more broad in one sense to encompass the variety of opportunities for the application of business analysis. However, in some ways the definition has also become focused on common attributes. So the words that you see underlined here of enabling change, defining needs, recommending solutions, delivering value, and stakeholders, these are all key to the business analysis role that someone might play. So if I was to choose one of these attributes as the most important, I would focus on delivering value. And this is very common for anyone that's performing business analysis in the fact that what they're really providing to a business is value. And it's really the job of the person doing that business analysis to identify the value to the organization. And this is usually done through many of the with the tools and the techniques that you would learn as a business analyst. I also like to refer to a definition that used to be in an earlier version of the BABOK. I think it was actually in version 2. They've since modified it a bit, but it always referred to the concept of a bridge between business and IT. And although that's not the only place where business analysis is done, it's very common, especially in our market, where change usually comes about because we're introducing some sort of technology. And the business analysis can be a great bridge between the business needs and what is implemented by IT. If you think about, back to the words of delivering value, I'd invite you to use, at the beginning of a project that you might be starting, to use this acronym. The acronym is PAM, and it basically stands for, the P is for purpose. So what you'd be looking for is what is the purpose of the project or undertaking that you're involved in. A is for advantage. What is the advantage of the proposed change? And M is for measurement. Everything can be measured, and it's very important for you to find out what's important to your stakeholders up front. So we've kind of already, dove right into some of the guts of the BABOK and what it stands for. I'd probably like to step back a little bit and talk a little bit about how I identify myself as a business analyst. So I now, when someone asks me what I do, I tell them that I'm a business analyst. So if I could take a moment to kind of tell you my story about my introduction to the IIBA back in 2005 is when I got involved. At that time, I was working for a software development company as a product manager. So that was my title, product manager. I wasn't considered as a business analyst at that time. The company I worked for, they had a commercial off-the-shelf product that I provided direction for, and I basically talked to customers and potential customers about the product. That was my job, talking to customers. Well, what I found I was really doing was when I was talking to them, they were the stakeholders, and I was really determining their needs. So you may have heard of the term, find the pain points. Well, in order to sell your product as a product manager to potential customers, I needed to understand their pain points. Now, at the time, I didn't think of that as business analysis. I was a product manager. And it wasn't until I left this company and I was looking for a new job. And at the time, actually, I was in Winnipeg, and I looked around and I realized, well, there's not a lot of jobs here as a product manager. But then I started to realize that, wow, there are hundreds of opportunities where people are doing business analysis. And that was really kind of my forte into becoming a business analyst and working in the business analysis field was when I discovered that this opportunity was out there. So a little bit about the International Institute of Business Analysis. Really what they're focusing on is helping business do business better. And this kind of alludes back to when I was talking about finding that value for business. It is an independent, non-profit professional organization serving to grow the field of business analysis globally. It was begun in 2003 in Toronto, and I have to proudly say that Winnipeg was one of the founding chapters also at the time, and I also was on board in Winnipeg. Currently, there's over 29,000 members and 116, actually I think we're up to 120 chapters worldwide now, including most North American metro centers, so it's very widely distributed across North America especially. So the International Institute of Business Analysis, what do we do? Well, we define standards, and I'm now speaking from the IIBA's perspective. We define standards for business analysis through a guide to the business analysis body of knowledge, or I referred to it earlier as the BABOK. We're now on to version 3 of the guide, and it really defines a lot of the community's knowledge in this one document. They're identifying skills necessary to be effective in the business analysis role and through the IIBA analysis competency model, and recognizing business analysis as professionals through internationally recognized certifications. That's really the focus really is on business analysis as a profession and the people that do this work. Pulled up now is called the Business Analysis Core Concept Model. And this has just actually been introduced in the last version of the BABOK. This is really a conceptual framework for business analysis. It encompasses what business analysis is and what it means to those performing business analysis tasks, regardless of perspective, industry, methodology, or level in the organization. And it's comprised of 6 terms that have a common meaning to all business analysts and helps them discuss both business analysis and its relationships with common terminology. So the BABOK guide, as I mentioned, we're on version 3 of the guide. And this slide really highlights the 5 perspectives that are found within the BABOK. The new BABOK guide version 3 brings together new perspectives, techniques, and concepts in a consistent manner across different roles, practices, and organizations. As practices such as Agile, you can see as number 1 there, software as a service, cloud computing, process improvement, and big data all become mainstream, the BABOK guide provides BAs with tools and knowledge to easily adapt to their evolving work environment. This is something that the IIBA is very aware of, is that not only do business analysts work as change agents, but the IIBA themselves are aligned very tightly with the change that's happening. And I know Ken Fuller, the president of the IIBA, has that as a focus for the professional organization. The next slide that I brought up is for the certifications, and actually one of your next presenters, Holly, who's also an online tutor, is also a member of our board, and she happens to be the VP of Professional Development. So I won't get into all of the details of the certifications, but I think the big concept here is that this is an important part of the professional organization, that it provides credence really for the skill sets that business analysts bring to the table. So the actual certifications are administered by the head office. I'm speaking to you as the local chapter president, and a lot of what we do is around the BA community locally here. The certifications are actually administered by the head office, but we do have a board member specifically allocated to providing study group sessions and information on these certifications. So certainly if you wanted to get more information on the certifications, you can contact us through our chapter website. little bit about the local chapter. It was begun in 2005. We tend to hold pretty much a speaker event every month. There's sometimes during the summer, I think we take about 1 month off, but other than that, you'll pretty much be able to find under our events list a speaker event each month that you can sign up and attend. And you don't have to be a member. We certainly involve people from the wider BA community, and we would invite students as well to join in. It's a great way to meet other people that are doing business analysis and learn about the field of business analysis. As I also mentioned, the certification study group, which is run by Holly, that continues on throughout the year. We also do have some webinars and workshops. The workshops can sometimes be up to like maybe a 2-day workshop where I suppose in some case, Raquel, we actually almost are competing with UBC Sauder, but they're special-based workshops that are actually, I think in some cases they've been quite complementary to the UBC curriculum. And we also have social and networking events. So during the year, we just had one in August, and we'll have another one in December, where we just invite people to come out and network. It's great to talk to people in the in our local BA community, and these are a great way to get together and just meet other people. I've got a few statistics at the bottom here. We're running usually around 270 some odd members in our chapter. Within our BA community, we have about 82 CBAPs and 8 CCBAs. So just a little bit more about the chapter. It is, again, as I mentioned, it's focused on our local community. So we're not, we may overlap a bit with the head office, but they have kind of their focus. Our focus really is on the local community. That's why we focus so much on events. As I say, the study sessions are designed for people to come together and share their knowledge. And we're really looking to help with your professional development and your personal growth. So everyone's welcome. There's our website. If you go to there, you'll be able to find contacts under the board of directors. You'll be able to find events that we're holding under the event links. And we're also, you can follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. And I think that might be my last slide. So I'll leave it if there's any questions.
Great. Thanks, Ron. That's a really great summary of who and what the IIBA does. Those certifications are quite new, and they really created a new point of entry for whatever level you're at in your career, and makes it more accessible and to be more inclusive, to encourage people to take on this path of business analysis. As Ron points out, there are tons of resources available at the chapter level to support your professional development, networking, and career. I am a member of the IIBA, and I get a lot out of it. I love going to the speaker sessions. I learn so much from those. I've even gone to some of their workshops, and they really are an amazing opportunity to network. You can network through the courses that we have here, but if you're locally in Vancouver and there's chapters across Canada and the world of the IIBA, look for your local chapter, and I would highly recommend joining that. It's really nice to see also the IIB moving into the Agile extension, and as it grows and evolves in this space. I did have a question. One question here is there a chapter in Victoria? I'm aware that there is, but Ron, did you have any more details you wanted to mention about that?
Well, there certainly is a chapter there. Probably the best way to contact with them is through their website as well. It's oh, look at that. Somebody's already put up it's the victoria.iiba.org. is their website, and they do have their own board of directors. They have their own events. Yeah, that'd be a great place to contact if that's where you're located.
Okay.
And we'd be happy to have you attend both events in Victoria and in Vancouver when you happen to be here.
Great. And then we had another question here is, what is the difference between a business analyst and a business systems analyst role? And we get that question quite a bit. Maybe, Ron, you could elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So I think it is just a matter of perspective. Actually, I also used to do some teaching when I was in Winnipeg, and the course was actually called the Business Systems Analyst Program, and it just to confuse things. So it did cover both roles, and I think it's really just a matter of how far you're delving into the technical aspects. So I think the business analyst itself is typically focused on the business needs. So when you're writing a specification, you're typically writing requirements, and that is the focus. If you're considered more of a business systems analyst or even a systems analyst, now you start to be getting a bit more into writing some of the technical documentation. So again, the business systems analyst is going to be focused on the business needs and the requirements that are being elicited from the stakeholders. But I think it's more in just the application, kind of how far that specification goes. You tend to, I mentioned earlier my definition of the bridge between business and IT. I think the system portion is when you're dealing more with the IT side, and you're starting to provide a bit more of the documentation around, really almost getting into a bit more of the solution than the requirements.
A great summary, Ron. Like I said, we always get that question, so I think it's something that we should actually post into our website somewhere about that. Next question I have here from Travis. He says, in your opinion, what is the biggest difference between the business analyst and project management certificate in the eyes of companies these days? And I think, it looks at both the role of business analyst and project management, but also the education in these fields. Do you want to talk to that briefly?
Sure. So yeah, coming from the field of being a product manager, I think I can speak to that. And also, we have a very good working relationship at the IIBA with the product management group in Vancouver. And if anybody is interested in product management, I would also invite you to check out their website. I don't happen to have it here, but I'm sure anybody can do a Google search of the product management group. I think they tend to advertise on Meetup. Anyway, I think it's and maybe I should just mention that we actually had a presentation, it's now I think about 3 months ago, where we had somebody from the product management group come out and actually talk about, they called it the Venn diagram of business analysis and product management. And there are a lot of similarities. So I think it's just really a matter of focus. As I mentioned, when I was a product manager, I was still doing the same things. I was going out and I was talking to stakeholders. I was defining the requirements, bringing that back to my IT group. But I think it's really more just in how the organization is structured. So as a product company, you have a bit of a different focus, and there are some critical skills that product managers need. A lot of it is around defining a product path. In order to define that product path, that's a key thing when you're marketing a product. Not so much when you're in a project type of role, where you're typically you're more delivering on the requirements for a specific project. So yeah, a lot of overlap, but I would invite you to learn things that are valuable to the product managers by also looking them up and kind of getting a better answer than I probably provided in a few minutes here.
Thanks, Ron. Travis, also, I think we'll get to your question a little bit further along as well, because I think you also want to know about sort of the business analysis certificate and the project management certificate. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well in a minute. So I'm just going to move along. There's no more questions in the chat box. So next is I'm up. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about the market for business analysis and how to progress in your career. The next few slides slides have been provided by Annex Consulting, and they're not on the session today, but they've been able to do a little bit of industry stats for us and provide us with sort of an overview of the career path of a business analyst, where the job opportunities are, because Annex Consulting is a recruiting company here in Vancouver who has done a lot of work in the areas of project management, business analysis, product management as well, where they recruit individuals for companies on a contract basis. So first I'm just going to look at the business analyst opportunities. This was pulled from Indeed, and if you're familiar with Indeed, it's a site that pulls from different sources of job postings, and this really just gives you a sense of the current demand. There are plenty of opportunities, as you can see, across the province and locally in Vancouver. Obviously, the United States is a huge market at 91,000 jobs in that area, but I do think that you can look at business analysis. This has just been a search done on business analysis as a title. But as Ron mentions, lots of jobs don't necessarily have the title, but include many of the same business analysis skills. So if you were to actually search business analysis skills, it would likely at least double these numbers in some cases. And as we'll talk about a little bit more, there is a wide variety of transferable skills in business analysis. The business analysis market. The market has seen some steady growth in the last few years, and this is a large part due to the BC economy, particularly in the public and Crown Corps. But you're also now seeing more of that sort of small to medium companies that are looking for business analysis skill sets. Agile, especially, was sort of more of a liaison role to business analysis, or an Agile specialist. But with the new Babok version 3 and Agile extension, it's become a part of the skill set and a toolkit that BAs use. The business analyst is seen more as a practice of enabling change and delivering more value to the stakeholders. That's kind of from aligning and adding value, added task, and becoming outcome-oriented to facilitate that kind of development. User experience is bringing customer experience input into the process. So really digging deep into requirements gathering and that elicitation process. Then you have data analysis, which is becoming popular through distilling, interpreting, and analyzing data to build a picture for the organization to inform solutions or recommendations and wider analysis, enterprise analysis, which we kind of delve into a little bit more into our business analysis fundamentals course. So really, I mean, some of you might be a little bit worried that, this is so IT focused, and it's not. And we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit more as we go through some of the slides with Azeema and Holly. But there's only 10% of the IT roles are in business analysis. You don't have to have the technical skills or IT experience. It's really more on the business solutions and comprehensive view of the role. And as Ron kind of explained earlier, that difference between a business analyst and a business systems analyst or a systems analyst, those business systems analysts and systems analysts are very much on the IT systems software side of the organization. But when you get into business analysis, it's about solving business problems and aligning solutions to the needs of the business. So some of the types of business analysts include these lists here. Most common are the first two, which are more focused on delivering technology projects or business process design. The requirements definition. This is really stakeholder focused. The current state and future state definition development is usually tied to a system implementation. And the business process analysis is that's sort of the next steps from requirements definition into the change management areas that really helps organizations transition through those change states. Then you have project initiation. It's developing more around developing a business case for justifying a project for moving forward through the evaluation and selection process. And then you move into that evaluation and selection process. Sorry, my battery is low here. Just 1 second as I ensure that the plug is working. Okay, sorry for that interruption. My apologies. Evaluation and selection. This is focused on the tools and technologies, solutions, and recommendations. Then we get into the best practices, training, and coaching. This is more on sort of the change management, HR best practices. It's also becoming more prominent in the role, and it's focusing on the people side of what those changes really mean. And then finally, we have the specialist. So this is more industry expert. It's not only business analysis, but in procurement, healthcare. Any of these roles are not done in isolation. I think that's an important point here. They're usually working with a team of people and other subject matter experts within those industries. We are seeing, more of those branches of BA roles and not just focused on IT or systems analysis. I'm going to talk a little bit now in salary rate and averages in Vancouver. This is sort of in terms of what salary you might expect, and it really depends on the size of the organization, the experience you have, additional benefits or bonuses, and whether it is contract versus permanent employment. As you can see, more of the junior role around $45,000. Mid-range roles are around 70,000. In higher level process improvement and focused on strategic work and providing recommendations to the business, that's around 85,000. Okay, one moment please. I'm trying to switch it. Here we go. Okay, progressing in your career. Moving from junior to intermediate to senior business analyst. Oh, sorry, we went one slide too far. Here we go. Okay. So really, you're looking at assisting senior business analysts with deliverables. So that's where you start with as a junior. You're conducting interviews, sometimes you're doing surveys to collect data, you're attending facilitation sessions, you could be creating documentation, conducting research on product vendors, on technology evaluation and selection. Most BAs start with requirements projects and that kind of collecting data of key stakeholders using a variety of techniques. More senior business analysts develop other skills such as process analysis, evaluation, and selection. More of the senior business analysts kind of specialize in business process improvement and the kind of business cases for strategic initiatives. If you join an organization with a business analysis center of excellence, I think that's a key thing here if you really want to start to build your skills in this area. They provide a lot of the methodologies, tools, best practices, mentorship for junior professionals. It's a good way to start if you're starting in that junior role. Also, something like taking a formal education program and continuing your learning, such as the UBC Certificate in Business Analysis. It's a really good way to get that really practical and applied skills that you can use directly on the job. We use real-life case studies. We use the types of situations and problem solving that you would need in a role if you were doing that currently. Another way is to attend some of the IIBA events or becoming certified. There's the multi-level of the IIBA certifications, and they're recognizing that entry-level BAs as a stepping stone into the role. And then there's more formal opportunities for coaching, mentoring, and coming into that professional association. And then finding a mentor and building your career path. You can do this very consciously and intentionally to kind of move into that role. IIBA is a great place to start with that, or in your organization. And building some of the soft skills such as leadership, writing, communication, facilitation, negotiation. It's really key that you have those soft skills. This industry is not about the technical. The key piece is that people part. Business analysts today are more into those change management roles, and they really need to understand not just the technology, but the people and the process. So if you can build on those soft skills, that's a great way to help advance in the role. This also helps you improve long-term relationships, both internally with your team and with external stakeholders, and within Vancouver and around that community. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit now about some of the traits. So these are just some of the top 10 traits of business analysts. Overall, the soft skills, as I mentioned, make the best business analysts. So those who are good at understanding people, interpreting information, both verbally and in writing. And again, that's being succinct, clear, asking good questions, and pulling out relevant information that you can present to the organization. Being able to lead workshops, those facilitation skills are really key here. Also strong analytical thinking, be able to have creative solutions in solving business needs and challenges, and being able to tailor your approach and methods to the individuals and organization you're working with, adapting your style to any situation is key. And then having a view of the larger picture and focus on the relevant details, the objectives and outcomes, and actually less important is having more of those technical skills, as I've already mentioned. It's really about being incredibly organized and prioritizing tasks on projects and getting people on board, engaging those stakeholders. Those are, again, those people skills are really key. Sometimes it's specialized industry expertise that will be a strength coming into this area. I think, understanding that process around business analysis, and you can learn a lot of that, and you can get a lot of the tools within a program such as the UBC Certificate in Project Management. I'm going to now just move on to our next presenter here. So we have Azeema Jamal, and she is with the Vancity Credit Union. She's also a UBC program graduate. Azeema is a Bachelor of Commerce graduate of the Sauder School of Business at UBC. She has over 13 years of experience in financial services sector. Azeema has held several positions within Vancity Credit Union and has specialized in underwriting, business process management, risk, business analysis, call center optimization, and regulatory compliance. She provides technical advice and expertise to stakeholders regarding operational practices and opportunities for improvement. Azeema completed the UBC Certificate in Business Analysis quite a few years ago, and several of her colleagues actually have gone through the program, both in the financial side of the business and on the customer relations side. And following the program, a few years later, she actually became an online tutor for the program. Welcome, Azeema. I'd like to pass it over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Raquel, for the introduction. So I'm just going to talk a bit about how I arrived in this role. I've been in financial services, as Raquel mentioned, for over 13 years. I started my career at Vancity as a financial advisor and mortgage officer while continuing my schooling at UBC. I attained my Bachelor of Commerce degree from the Sauder School of Business, and then shortly after graduating, I transitioned into this cool role of a business analyst. I was very new at the time. It is still a very new career, and still kind of getting established. That's kind of what I've observed over the years. It's not really a career that's been around too long. Some of you may be familiar with Vancity. They're quite progressive, and years ago noticed a gap and filled it by developing this formalized business analytics team. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the first business analysts to join that team at the time. Further, I had some really great mentors who supported our team to build some really strong on-the-job business analysis skills and valuable business analysis outputs. So after working on some key initiatives, I was promoted to lead that business analytics team at Vancity, and more recently, my role has now evolved into regulatory compliance and also strategic planning for the financial institution. In addition, with the encouragement of Raquel, and as Raquel mentioned, I am also an online tutor for the Business Analysis Certificate program. And so some of my key accountabilities, I provide technical advice and expertise to stakeholders regarding operational practices and opportunities for improvement, and also to establish consistent business analysis methodologies for operational projects and initiatives, really to enable the achievement of strategic departmental objectives. So some of the things that we do are process improvements, designing and implementing new business processes, current state analysis, future state analysis, business requirements, and then we also create, so I create policy. And so as a seasoned BA on my team, you are really expected to navigate the jurisdictional landscape and recognize legislative changes. So this is more of the compliance role, but again, really utilizing the business analysis methodologies. So a lot of jurisdictional issues are really intricate and complex and typically lead to different results depending on the specifics of the transaction or the process in each case. BAs are expected to really embrace the ambiguity of any project and then take complex business requirements and business problems and explain them to stakeholders in a really simplified and straightforward manner. So in my role, I'm also accountable to lead, train, and develop business analysts. The BA certificate I find adds really good value. And I'd also like to point out that experience also goes a long way, especially the opportunity to work on various types of projects or programs with different complexities. As a BA, you really are a lifelong learner. And the certificate, I find, really validates methodologies you may have already learned and also introduces you to some new ideas and tools to add to your toolbox. It really provides a structured, organized, and mapped out path to learning. And I really encourage my team to enroll in the certificate program. So some important skills I've observed over the years that are really critical to the role include communication. So I feel like a project's success really depends on the business analyst clearly communicating details like project requirements, requested changes, and testing results. So really articulate language skills and written communications ability are really necessary to thrive as a business analyst. Next is analytical skill. A key part of the role is analyzing data, documents, user inputs, and workflows to determine which course of action will correct the business problem. So strong analytical skills are really important as well. And then there's problem solving. As a business analyst, you spend a lot of your career dealing with frequent and random changes, and when BAs are working to develop custom business solutions, nothing is 100% predictable. So finding ways to quickly resolve problems and move towards a project successful completion is really vital. And so that's where you kind of see sometimes the approach of like waterfall versus agile used. And again, the certificate program covers the waterfall and the agile approach. So you really learn the different techniques. Also, the other thing that's really important is decision making. So as a consultant to management and an advisor to developers, the business analyst is called upon for sound judgment in a wide variety of complex matters. So consultants and analysts should be able to really assess a situation, receive input from stakeholders, and select a course of action fairly quickly and without any hesitation. And then I included in their managerial. So a BA's role involves managing the project. This includes planning the project scope, directing staff at every level, handling change requests, and then keeping all parties the project within an allocated time constraint. And then lastly, maintaining relationships within an organization and with external partners is an important function of the role of a business analyst, and this requires strong negotiation and persuasion skills. And so next is, in terms of hiring, what do I look for? So one is organizational fit. At Vancity, we believe in rewarding innovation, supporting diversity, and making a positive impact socially, economically, and environmentally. So a potential candidate would have to be values aligned. Then there's, I look at related education. I have hired and worked with BAs who have various education background. The key here, though, is aptitude, capacity, a natural talent, and resilience in order to be successful in the role. Again, I put in here communication because I just want to stress how important it is to be able to communicate with your stakeholders and then also your customer. So incorporated into this skill set is the ability to just communicate really at any level of the organization. And then next, the candidate must be able to think strategically. And by that, I mean they should be able to envision how the future could look. They also must be able to envision the path to be able to get there. And lastly, I look for candidates that have a broad range of experience. I look for BAs that have completed several different projects and programs. And then with that, I turn it back to you, Raquel.
Great. Thanks, Azeema. I really like how you went through not just the essential skills, but also what you're looking to hire in a BA. And, I think what came up in this is sort of a general thing, which Ron has talked about, you have talked about, and I have talked about, is that idea of those soft skills: communication, problem solving, decision making, managerial HR, negotiations and persuasion. I mean, those are really key skills, and those are ones that we do cover in the program as well. I did want to open the floor to some questions. I thought maybe I could come back to this question that Travis asked earlier. Ron actually thought he heard product management and the difference between business analyst and product management. But actually what Travis was asking here was, what's the difference between business analyst and project management certificates in the eyes of companies? And I think, Azeema, you'd be actually a great one to answer that, because you've sort of played those two roles and you hire people within this realm. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, well, they both do have very similar skill sets. They're both change agents. I think it's important to ask yourself, when you are deciding on what certificate you like to do, where are you strongest? What are your skill sets? What are your strengths? Because the project management certificate and the business analysis certificate, they are both very reputable. They are both very recognized within each career. But again, I believe that you want to focus on your strengths. If you want to be successful in a job, you want to focus on your strengths. So looking at a project manager, you're more responsible for delivering the solution. Whereas a business analyst, you're more responsible for discovering the problem and determining the solution. So I think it goes back to, the person and see kind of, what are you strongest at? Are you strongest at discovering the problem and then making recommendations back to the business, and having that back and forth? Or do you, want to focus more on delivering the solution? And with a BA, actually, you really do work very closely with the project manager and oftentimes even advising them, this is what we should do next, because you're so close to the problem and then you're so close to the solution. So my answer to that would be, you want to focus on what's good for you. But again, they're both very, very, reputable and acknowledged.
Oh, great. And I do think there is a lot of hybrid of those roles, especially in smaller communities and even locally in Vancouver here. So sometimes having the education in both areas is very practical and a good advantage, I would say, in the market. There was another question here from Glenn, and he wanted to know, I'm kind of following up on that question, is the difference between a business analyst and a business relationship analyst. They said their company has recently implemented the BRA role. I actually haven't heard of that role. Maybe you could talk a little bit to that, on that.
Hi, sorry, I don't know if you asked.
Azeema.
Yeah. So business, I think that one thing to keep in mind is there's a lot of, the job descriptions could be similar. It's just up to the organization what they decide to call that role. So before I could even comment, I would want to look at the job description of the business relationship analyst just to understand really what it is. Because, every organization, it's up to them what they decide to call the role. But just from the title, it looks like it's more of a relationship maybe between the stakeholders and the business, like the business analyst. But again, I would look at the job description because the job titles they don't really tell you much, but the descriptions really will tell you what that job entails. But also, just going based on the job title, what I would do is set up an informational interview with whoever that hiring manager is to really learn about that job description, what it really entails. I hope that answers your question.
Great, thanks, Azeema. Just because we're only got about 10 minutes left, I'm going to move along, but there is another question that I'll put to you maybe closer to the end if you don't mind sticking around.
Yeah, no worries.
Great. So our next presenter that we have up is Holly Zhang, and she is with WorkSafeBC. She is an online tutor for our business analysis program, and she's been there for over 4 years in that role. But a little bit about Holly. So she has over 25 years of experience in information technology development, business analysis, project management, and adult education. She has worked in banking, workers' compensation, and education industries. She has taught various courses in IT at university level for 6 years in China before she came to Canada in 1992. And she has been an online tutor for the Certificate in Business Analysis here at UBC since 2013. Holly holds a bachelor and a master's degree in computer engineering and an MBA from the University of UBC. She is a certified business analysis professional, a CBAP through the IIBA, and a certified Scrum Master, CSM, and a certified ProSci change management practitioner. She is active in her local BA community as an IIBA chapter board member and advisory board member for the Project World Business Analyst World Vancouver, which is coming up in October. Welcome, Holly. I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Raquel. Hope you can hear me. Hello, everyone. And I'm going to focus more on the UBC Certificate in Business program. As you may already know, it's 100% online, includes 7 courses. It's IIBA aligned, and also the courses are updated to include content from the BA BOK version 3 and the Agile extension. And also you can get the credit for the professional development unit for if you're really thinking to get the IIBA certification that Ron talked about. And it's designed by practice business analysts that from various industries. And also the online tutors are professionals from industry with experiences in broad aspects of analysis. The courses actually can start throughout the year, multiple start dates, and it's quite flexible. The assignments have a set deadlines for each course, but if you can set your own pace. For example, if you need to go on business trip, you can complete an assignment ahead of the deadline. The last one is we want to talk about is the fast track package that including 2 or 3 courses in a term. Usually you may take 1 course in a term, but for the fast track package, you can finish 2 or 3 courses in 1 term. Specifically, the program includes 7 courses. You can see fundamentals of business analysis is the first course that you must take in order to take other courses. The fundamental courses actually give you an overview and taste of being a business analyst. You can try it out and see if BA is the career path for you. It allows students to try out what business is about and well, students can identify the skills and they already have, and what are the skills they need to become a business analyst. You can, after you take the first course, you can take as many courses as you like, but in order to complete the certificate, you need to finish all 7 courses. What's so special about the UBC courses? It is really integrated view beyond system analysis. It really aligns with the trend of business analysis. Now, the BA role actually go beyond system analysis, integrate a different industry and different project. And the courses are solution-oriented. Basically what it means, it really helps you to learn how to identify problems, how we can drive business performance, and how to provide values to the organization. So what's so special about the UBC topics? From the slide, you can see the topics cover various areas, and including both soft skill, technical skills, and also cover the people side, process side, and also align with the technology as well. Let's go through quickly the solution, including enterprise analysis, how to plan for business analysis, define solution, and also elicit and document requirements. And also from the right-hand side, you can see a lot of soft skill, how to build a team, how to engage stakeholders, manage change. So it is a very comprehensive program that covers soft skills and technical skills, as I mentioned before, and also cover the skills that the previous presenter has identified are key as a successful business analyst. What's special about the UBC approach? We learning by doing. What does it mean? Basically, we have some discussion forums and also use cases. Really, you share your own experiences. Students come from different backgrounds, different experiences. Through sharing their experiences and reflection on their experiences, and also how apply the courses, the content from the courses. Well, we have a great discussion and everyone learn from each other. It's more like a peer learning and coaching and mentoring. The second one, align learning to real business situation. I heard from the graduates that they're really, what's good about this program is the case study. It's very realistic and it's very complex and really close to the business challenges that you may face every day. And you can apply this learning to that business situation and the challenge, and you may think about what I'm going to do when I talk to stakeholders. Complete business analysis deliverables. You will try out from the assignment. We'll give you some questions, and also the assignments ask you to complete some deliverables as a business analyst will do in their daily life. For example, we'll ask you to draw a process map, we'll review it and give you some feedback how that process looks like. We may ask you to analyze the situation of a company. So this is really you learn through doing. The second part is teaching through providing guidance and advice. As an online tutor, I'm not teaching what's wrong, what's the right way to analyze a problem. We really encourage you to different thinking and approaches and learn from each other. I also share my lessons learned from my own experiences. For example, I may give you a tip how to manage a challenging stakeholders, and also may give you some tips on what is the difference between project management versus business analysis. So that's the approach UBC courses we take. What's special about the UBC as it's 100% online. You can download the PDFs, modules, and also we provide some online videos from different sources, reference sources. Experienced business analysts provide guidance. As you say, the online tutors have extensive business analysis experiences. They're from different industries, and they also have experiences from broad aspects of a business analysis. Most of them have enterprise analysis, system implementation, and also process improvement, action structure. And as I mentioned before, student discussion forums to explore questions and gain feedback on experience. Really, the discussion forum allows students really to exchange experiences and learn from each other. Applied assignments and projects. These assignments and projects are, most of them based on case studies, so you can apply what you learn to real business situations and also apply to what you experience in your real life. Hope that gives you some overview of the program. Raquel, get back to you.
Great, and thanks, Holly. That's a really good overview of the UBC Certificate program and our approach. And I think, you know, what I wanted to highlight what you mentioned there is about we have really experienced business analysts such as Azeema and Holly who have many years of experience in the industry and are doing this on the job. They're there to guide you through the program and to ask questions of. So it's a really good start first to your network, but second to really get the insights of what's happening in the organizations. How is that job really functioning within organizations? It's not just about taking an educational program. It's very practical, very applied. So now we're getting at the end of our time, so I'm just going to go very quickly through these slides, and I think they're pretty self-explanatory, and just leave a little bit of time if you don't mind sticking around for a few questions. I know we have one question that we hadn't got to in the chat, but if you have any others, please put them in there, and we'll try to cover those. So this slide just is talking about some of the places that our students have come from or gone into from the program. As you can see, it's not strictly public sector or any one industry. It actually crosses a variety of industries, and that you can also see that BA skills are very transferable. BAs have an opportunity to work across a variety of industries, and they have the best opportunity to build your career through different organizations. So you can be very international on how you want to build your career. It's not just here. There is a lot of contracts that are allow you to work from home and do this role as well. Our graduates do come from around the world. I guess the online aspect allows us to do this and offer more inclusive experience, but also as students it gives you an incredible insights into how the role and organizations across the globe function. As you can see, these are several of the countries that we've had students come from. And one more slide. So just quickly, the program formats. Now you can apply to the program at any time, or you can start by registering for a course. You don't have to apply first to actually start the fundamentals course. You have up to 2 years to complete the program, and this is actually a little bit flexible because we know that you are busy professionals and you don't always have time to complete the courses within that 2-year time frame. If you're doing it kind of one per term, or you have to skip a term because you've got other priorities, that's fine. We do have some flexibility on that, and you can apply for an extension if you need to. The courses are offered year-round. We try to make it flexible so that it can fit with your schedule. And then we have also these fast-track options. These are where we combine sort of a 2 to 3 course courses in an intensive format. And by intensive, you still can be working at the same time. The difference between the fast track option in sort of hours per week versus the regular courses are, it's about 6 to 10 hours per week for a regular course that you expect to be online, doing some reading, watching videos, or doing your assignment. If you're taking a fast track option, that time is anywhere from 10 to 15 hours. And then we do have a couple options of the fast tracks that come in. We have a fast track 1, 2, and 3, and basically it allows you, if you really wanted to complete the program faster, it allows you to condense that time frame and complete it in as early as 6 months. We have intakes in the fall, and we also have intakes in the spring for these. And it's a little bit cheaper because it's bundled. You save a little bit on the program fees. And just a heads up, we do have the Fundamentals of Business Analysis and the Fast Track 1 starting both on September 5th, so it's starting next week. I think we only have 6 spots left in the Fundamentals of Business Analysis. We already filled one class. We have one more class that we're offering in the same time frame, and we only have 6 spots left, so if you want to register that, please do that as soon as possible. The Fast Track, I think, has about 8 spots left in it, if you're interested in that one. And sorry, just we have a couple other awards of achievement with that kind of follow along the same lines as the business analysis, and we have the Award of Achievement in Agile Leadership, and this is a fairly new program. It just started last year. We've got several courses. They're all 2 or 3 day, face-to-face courses here at Robson Square, and we also have an Award of Achievement in DevOps Adoption, so it's kind of following on that Agile course, and it gives you some required courses that you need to take in Introduction to DevOps and implementing a continuous delivery pipeline that really falls within that discipline. And to questions. So I think there's one question that we didn't cover, and I just wanted to ask Azeema this, and then we'll see if there's any other pressing questions before we leave. The one I wanted to put to Azeema was the career path to project management for a business analyst. This was brought up earlier. They wanted to know what is that career path from business analyst to project manager, and I keep in mind that it could go either way. You could be starting as a project manager and moving into business analysis, and vice versa. So if you're someone without that background in IT, what would that career path be to a project manager from business analysis, Azeema?
Hi there. Yeah, so you're asking just moving between a project manager or a business analyst. What I find is there's a lot of similarities. So again, I think just keeping in mind that you are a change agent, and it doesn't necessarily have to be IT focused if that's the person's concern, if they don't have any IT experience. I think what is important is to understand the methodologies that are used. And like I said, it's really knowing, is it that you want to be responsible for delivering the solution, or do you want to be responsible for discovering the problem and then determining the solution? So just understanding kind of that. But with that being said, oftentimes, even in my organization, we have business analysts that, are strong project managers. Like they kind of go in and out of that role. There's no real strict lines other than those titles, really, that, that would keep someone from each career. But again, if you're a business analyst, you're still doing, project manager type of work. You are still, responsible for implementing and delivering. And then also with project managers, oftentimes, they are in there working really closely, really hard with the business analysts because, they have access to the stakeholders too. And, they're hearing what the stakeholders say. And, they do want to push through and deliver this project. But again, there are a lot of similarities. And I go back to, if you're deciding what career you want to do, I would go back to what is it that, what are your strengths and what do you enjoy doing? But again, there's going to be so much crossover.
Great, thanks, Azeema. And I just wanted to mention too that we have a certificate in project management that we offer here through UBC, and it's at Robson Square. It's a project management part-time core program. It's a cohort program, and what I'm just tying this into what Azeema was talking about, is that you take the core program. It's very focused on project management. You do it over 3 months, starts in September, runs until December, and then afterwards you get to choose a specialized track. And your specialized track could be in business analysis. So if you really want to if you have an affinity for that, or you want to learn more about the business analysis role and combine those two in the work that you do, that certificate path is a great one for somebody who wants that flexibility to learn more about the two different roles and to have knowledge and skills in both of those areas. We also have another specialization of that project management core is Agile, so another route to go if you're in that field. So with that, I think I'm going to conclude the session because we've gone a little bit over time, and I want to thank everybody for their patience and staying online. Just a reminder that this session has been recorded, so if you would like to listen to it afterwards, you will be getting that recording probably within the next week. It will be sent to you. And I also wanted to give a special thanks to our speakers, Dalton, Azeema, Jamal, Holly Zhang, and just for your being on this panel today and for all of your great information and tips and tidbits about your experience, your industry of knowledge and knowledge of the industry, and the program as well. So I wanted to thank you for that. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to send that to myself or Jasmine. Our emails are up here, and we'll try to make sure that we get to those via email. Thank you, everyone.